I'd like to call the Onslow County Board of Commissioners regular meeting for Monday, September 15th, 2025 to order at this time. And we'll start with the invocation by our county attorney, Mr. Brett DeSalms.
Thank you. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come before you and conduct the business of Onslow County. Lord, be with the commissioners tonight in their deliberations and bless them with wisdom and guidance as they address the items on tonight's agenda. Bless our citizens, first responders, and those defending our nation. May all we do this day bring you honor and glory. Amen. Now, with deep respect and reverence for the faiths, beliefs, and traditions of those gathered here tonight, join me in a moment of silence. Thank you.
Please stand, and before we go into to the pledge, if we'll just take a moment of silence for all the events that have occurred in this nation over the last week. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to recognize the elected officials that are with us tonight. Town Council from Holly Ridge, Mr. Walter Zavicki, their mayor, Mr. Pete Parnian, Alderman from North Topsail Beach, Mr. Rick Grant. And do we have any others here with us tonight? We do have former board member, Board of Education, Jeff Hudson, in the back here with us as well. Any others? So fantastic. Great crowd tonight. So we asked everyone here that are in attendance to please set your cell phones to silent or vibrate mode. And at this time, we need a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. We now need a motion for the approval of the items on the consent agenda. If there's none to be removed, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, hearing none, motion carries. So we'll move to presentations at this time, and we'll start with Mr. Smitherin. We'll take the first presentation from the Cooperative Extension Partnership Award.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Coming forward is Jessica Gardner of the North Carolina Cooperative Extension, who would like for the board to join her at the front of the room to take a picture and receive a partnership award that was bestowed upon the county a few weeks ago at the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners office. Jessica?
It's my honor to present this award to you all tonight. Mr. Bennett got to accept the official award with dinner and lights and music. The rest of you just get me tonight. But it's my honor to work alongside this board as we have the mission similar to you all of making this Onslow County the coastal community of choice. So this award is given to counties across the state every year that just show outstanding partnership. And so I just want to say for my staff, thank you all so much for the support that you show, whether it's attending a 4-H event, coming to the plant clinic, or spending the day on a farm tour with us. So thank you.
We appreciate this and all the work that she does over at Cooperative Extension, and the work does not go unnoticed. Thank you very much. We'll go into the next presentation, which I believe that may be why everyone in the back, my left, is here this evening. We'll start as the Longleaf Pine Award. So as I read this, we'd love for Mr. Randy Jones to come on down, and then the board will also go down, and Tony will go down and present it first, and take care of that. So since 1963, North Carolina's governors have reserved their highest honor the Order of the Longleaf Pine Award for persons who have made significant contributions to the state and their communities through the exemplary service and exceptional accomplishments. This is the highest award for state service granted by the Office of the Governor. From 1983 to 2022, Mr. Randy Jones dedicated 38.75 years of hard work and loyal service to Onslow County. Mr. Jones was not just a valuable employee and coworker, but a good friend to those who had the pleasure of knowing him. He was an honest and dependable colleague, always there to help his coworkers no matter what department they worked in. He was a positive influence on those he supervised, always striving for the best and instilling the same qualities he possessed in those who worked under him. Mr. Randy Jones has spent his professional life as a loyal employee dedicated to Onslow County, and the county is pleased to be able to present with him this prestigious honor of the Longleaf Pine Award. We have requested that Commissioner Tony Padgett present this award to his good friend, Randy Jones.
Thank you. I would like to say I've worked with Randy a long time, not only as a colleague, but as a former commissioner. He's seen a lot of buildings come and go here and done a lot of work. And look at his staff. It tells you what kind of leader he was that showed up here. And Randy, I just want to tell you, it's a great honor for me to do this. This is State of North Carolina, Josh Stein's governor, posing special confidence in the integrity and learning and seal of Randy Jones. I do hereby present the Order of the Longleaf Pine with the rank of an ambassador, extraordinary privilege to enjoy full all rights granted to the members of this exalted order, among which is a special privilege to purpose the following North Carolina Toast and Select Company anywhere in the free world. Here is to the land of the Longleaf Pine, the summer land where the sun doth shine, where the weak grow strong and the strong grow great. Here's to the down home, Old North State. Thank you.
Lord, come in. Lord, come in. I wanted his wife to come because she had worked here a long time. This was a team was hard to beat right here in Onslow County. And we are very proud of them. And on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, you guys come on down and get a picture. Randy and Laura done a lot for Onslow County. A long time, 38.75 years. That's older than I am, Randy. Come on, y'all get on in here.
Yes, ma'am. How about you guys?
All right. 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Always a pleasure, my buddy. Thank you. Congratulations, brother. Thank you.
You want to say a few
I
words?
do want to say a few words. I want to say thank you to the commissioners, Paul for what he's done for the staff over the years, Tony for being a good leader, a good friend. He's helped us out a lot. Thanks for the administration. I want to thank my family for putting up with me for all these years while I've worked here, because the job was a job, and that's what we've done. And my staff, or especially my wife, where'd she
right
go?
there.
Oh, there she went. I couldn't have done it without her, because we did a lot of stuff together. So I do want to say thank you for that. I had a great staff, and a lot of them are here tonight. They're just not staff; they're my friends. We treat each other just like, you know, we're family. So, and I have my best bosses here, Jeff Hudson. He done a lot for me over the years. We did a lot of projects together, and I'm very grateful. So, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
sure Randy was only about 14 when he started, and Tony was probably around 16 maybe, but congratulations to Tony, or Randy and his family and your service. The board offers the public one opportunity to speak during the meeting. Comments should be limited to no more than 5 minutes and may be on any issue upon which the Board of Commissioners has control. In accordance with the board's adopted rules of procedure, commissioners shall reserve responses, if any, for the commissioner comment period on the agenda. Mr. Smithman, do we have anyone signed up for public comment tonight?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, we have several speakers, the first one being John Barnett.
John Barnett, 53 Wildcat Pond Road, Hubert, North Carolina. That's where I reside now and have since 1988. What I'm here about is I've been in front of the commissioners back in 2001, 2010. You're receiving right now a photo of Piney Grove Church Road, Wildcat Pond Road, and a few others. What our problem is, back in 2001, you see a round red circle. That road goes from Belgrave, Swansboro, over to 24. That's where the church is at one end, and now there's a storage place at the other end. All those lines you see in blue, those are roads that connect into Belgrave, Swansboro Road. You come out Wildcat Pond Road, where I live, you can't turn left no more to go over to get out on Belgrave, Swansboro Road, because back there was a feud between two individuals called the Booths and the Smiths. What happened then was the Booths wanted to stop the drugs from running down the road, so they put up a big gate. Smiths tore it down. Judge came in. There is an order by a judge saying reopen that road. As I find out, you got to find out who owns the road. Nobody owns the road. Who used to own the road was old man Stanley, Mr. Stanley. It used to be a cart path way back when. So what happens next? Mr. Booth decides to get a backhoe and dig a big hole right there where that red circle is. Anybody wanting to go right coming out over here, out Belgrade side, they can't get through. Anybody wanting to go left, they can't get through. The other thing is you can't get an ambulance through there. As the pictures are being passed down of that road, there's been a few commissioners I've taken down that road in my pickup truck when you saw all that mud in that. One shaking his head, I think. And so back in 2010, I came before the commission, and there was a grant. 3 roads were to be taken care of by the county. We were number 3 on that grant, and all of a sudden, it got dropped. Nothing happened. Somebody else got it, which I understand why. I ain't gonna say nothing on that issue. Then we ended up getting CBs. I have some connections out there, a few other people. We got the CBs. We were going to come in for 2 weeks at Camp Lejeune. They were going to do a 2-week training session, and they were going to fix our roads. Oh, we were happy. They were getting paired. County lawyer came back, who happens to be my lawyer too, said he can't do it due to the fact that we can't insure it. Okay, that went out the door. So I got petitions. Y'all went out and surveyed that road for $14,000 twice. Each time, they went and got everybody's signatures, and I got some of the petitions. They got to the very end of 24. Mr. Stanley, Mr. Metz said, no, we're not signing it. We're not giving up anything, and I'm not taking my trees down. That shut everything down. So what I'm asking, we've been told by the EMS, at one time we received a letter, they would no longer provide services down here for us due to the fact of the condition. They even had to come in and get old man Jones out in a SUV, Chevy SUV, because the ambulance couldn't get down. Matter of fact, that night I towed him out with a tractor, which I have no access to no more, so I can't fix the road. And I got a lot of money in that road trying to get it fixed. Over here, coming off of 24, there's now a trailer park up there. That trailer park used to be Metz's. It ain't no more. So there was a few down there just recently. All that traffic now comes out there and comes down the road, which you see going down, the cars going down. That's coming on to 24. What happens, if there's an accident or anything up there, when we come out of Wildcat Pond Road or High Bluff, or when the fire department's there at 119, we've sat there for 2.5 hours and couldn't get down to 24. We can't go to Belgrave because of that hole. We've been told to find out who owns it. We don't know who is a private road. The mail got shut off last year for almost 3 weeks until I fixed that stupid hill. I'm going on 80 years old. My wife now has cancer. I'm spending my time learning how to take and fold clothes and help her. She's gonna be fine. I went to these people again over this individual. A lot of them is called Widow Lane on the other side, over on Belgrave. They're all widows. They're not gonna sign because this new thing called, what's it called? Let me give a minute. Orphan requires that they're gonna have to pay something. They're not gonna sign it. They've already said that. So I don't know what we can do. I do know that I'm tired. I'm tired. I've been taking care of this road for a long time, along with Mr.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it, and we'll get it to,
I appreciate it.
to our EMS folks and to Mr. Metcalf to
Thank you.
take a look at that. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, our next speaker is Ari Rakowitz. Thank you.
On September 2nd, I informed the Onslow County Board of Education that as they only permit members of the public 3 minutes per month, I would conclude the public reading of the letter they received from Staff Attorney Samantha Lawrence of the Freedom from Religion Foundation, FFRF, at this meeting of the County Commission to provide more timely access to the information for the public. The court reasoned that prayer at school board meeting implicates the concerns with mimicry and coercive pressure that have led us to be particularly vigilant in monitoring compliance with the Establishment Clause, quoting Edwards v. Aguilard from 1987. The Supreme Court reaffirmed in Kennedy that the schools cannot make a religious observance compulsory, quoting Zorich v. Clausen in 1952. In Lund v. Rowan County in 2017, the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, which controls in North Carolina, found that even legislative prayer is unconstitutional when the members of the legislative body are the only ones giving prayers because the government is delivering prayers that were exclusively prepared and controlled by the government, constituting a much greater and more intimate government involvement in the prayer practice than those that have been found constitutional. Prayers delivered by a school board run afoul of the heightened Establishment Clause concerns in public school context and are an even greater violation of the Constitution. Onslow County School Board Policy 3515 states the board will neither advance nor inhibit any religion or religious belief, viewpoint, expression, or practice. By including an invocation as an official part of its meetings, the board directly advances a religious practice in violation of its own policy. If the board continues to open meetings with an invocation or prayer, it will subject the district to unnecessary liability and potential financial strain. When FFRF secured a court order in the Chino Valley case regarding its school board prayers in 2016, the court ordered the district to pay more than $200,000 in the plaintiff's attorney fees and costs. After appeal, the court ordered the district to pay an additional $75,000 for the plaintiff attorney fees and costs associated with the appeal, for a total of more than $250,000. Students and parents have the right and often reason to participate in school board meetings. It is coercive, insensitive, and intimidating to force non-religious and non-Christian citizens to choose between making a public showing of their non-belief by refusing to participate in the prayer or else display deference toward a religious sentiment in which they do not believe but which their school board members clearly do. Board members are free to pray privately or to worship on their own time in their own way. Needlessly including prayer at board meetings marginalizes those who are among the 37% of Americans who are non-Christians, including the 49% of Generation Z who are religiously unaffiliated. Out of respect for the First Amendment rights and diversity of its community, we ask that the board immediately cease including an invocation at its meetings. Please inform us in writing of the steps the board is taking to remedy this constitutional violation so that we may inform our complainant. Thank you from FFRF for your time and attention to this matter. In some faith communities, writing out the entire name of the deity is offensive, and that new sign should not be above your heads. Why not make it more offensive, like your response to my comment last meeting? Integrate a white Jesus, buddy Christing with prophets and deities from people of faiths offended by iconoclasm surrounding the people on the state seal to mirror what you've done with your hypocritically oppressive invocations, moments of silence, and bully replies. It could always be worse does not absolve you from doing better. Do better. Stop violating constitutional rights and public trust. Having finally read you aloud and in public a letter both boards have been responding so cruelly to since receiving on April 3rd, I hope you understand that if you expect residents and visitors to forgive the county for saying things like what Attorney DeSelms says in the invocation the board directs him to lead on public time, and for that sign violating our rights in public meeting space, your expressed beliefs dictate you be willing to forgive me for respecting the civil disobedience of Lenny Bruce, George Carlin, and Angela Davis over your use of public time and space. I've mentioned Davis before and we'll come back to her. For anyone unfamiliar with Bruce and Carlin's moments in First Amendment history in 1966 and 72, these comedians were arrested for using words that are only harmful when they are used for harm. People in power in this county and country are using white supremacist religious fascism for harm. Stop that.
We're not going to listen to fascism and white supremacy tonight. We've had enough issues with that across this nation. We're not going to continue down that path.
Read
You can
Angela
continue
Davis
talking about-
and
you
read
can
Angela
continue talking
Davis,
about-
Our Prisons
you can
Obsolete
continue
and
talking about
Abolition,
prayer, but you're not going to do the
Feminism Now.
Carlos, ask her to
Read
leave.
Angela Davis, Our
You're good.
Prisons
You can go.
Obsolete and Abolition.
We've had enough of that across the nation. Thank you. Mr. Smitherman?
Yes, sir. The next speaker, Mr. Chairman, is David Williams.
Yes, hello, David Williams, 109 Shadowbrook Drive. In my early days in Onslow County, I found that our county had a hands-off approach to many of the issues we face today. Over the last 20 years, I feel we have turned the corner and started to grow the way we should. With that said, it is important we make up for our past issues while at the same time addressing our future ones. I would now like to thank the current leadership for recognizing the problems with our orphan roads. How did we get here? In 1975, the state of North Carolina set rules for our residential roads. At that time, our county should have made it mandatory to follow the said rules so that state could take over their maintenance. The dealing with Lake Street, you've heard this from me before. At the time, I was told the state did allow some exceptions for roads built before 1975 with the grandfather clause. That is where the state made improvements on some roads built before 1975 so they could be accepted by the state. Lake Street was an example of that. However, somewhere along the line, they did away with doing that type of thing. Were there any public hearings on that, or did they just do it? Over the years of the thousands of names I collected on petitions in our county by knocking on doors, many subjects came up with our Marine Corps friends. Where many of them came from across our nation, issues like roads, fire protection, and school nurses were some of the top priorities in their counties. For many, they went on to learn later that was not always the case in Onslow County. Another issue that has come up lately were all the people who bought homes here on private residential roads informed of their responsibility for the roads? I don't know. Honestly, I cannot remember if they told me about my road when I bought it some 40 years ago. I do know that there were other things I was not told about and learned about them the hard way. So it appears that many of us, including me, were part of the problem, as well as the solutions in some form or the other over the last 50 years. Because of that, I feel we should look at the solution you have come up with for our orphan roads. One, if we cannot get a 1/4-cent sales tax to address the issue to fix these roads at the county expense, we should go to Plan B. And this is just a thought. Instead of completely loaning out the money to our citizens, I suggest we do something a little different. Example, if a road expense comes to $400,000, the county would pay half of that. The other half would be loaned out to the citizens under the current plan that you have in place. I just kind of learned this right here. As I understand it now, you cannot pay for the roads. However, you could appeal to the state to do it. I understand the whole state would have to agree to that, all your other 99 counties, but starts with one. Again, over time, we allowed the problem, why do I say that? Again, over time, we allowed the problem to exist, and therefore I feel we all should share in the solution to it. Don't we owe that to both our longtime citizens and to all the military families that have come here expecting better from us? I have, a minute left. I'm gonna bring this up because when I went knocking on doors, I knocked on from the very expensive houses to the lucky they were living in a house. I went everywhere. And I think this is probably going to affect mainly the middle class people. And when you're asking 75% of the people on the road or whatever to participate and you went and they do it, you're affecting all 100%. What things cost now. I mean, and they're having to, I think you're connecting to this to property tax or somehow, or you might, and one day have to put a lien on them. I think it's asking a lot of them. And so I'm basically asking it for if you adjust something, get some from permission from the state or wherever, you'd be treating your people that you represent a whole lot better. So thank you. You have a good evening.
Thank you, Dan. Mr. Goodman?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The next speaker is Elliot Jarman.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners, and fellow citizens. First and foremost, I want to say I appreciate the prayer. I like the in God we trust up there. I don't like the fact that 37% of the people tries to do away with that. But here we are. My name is Elliot Jarman, and I want to speak tonight about transparency and its importance to public safety in Onslow County. As commissioners, you receive regular updates and workshops from county departments about their work. But those same details are not always shared in public meetings, which means the citizens, the very people funding these services, don't get to hear them. Transparency isn't just a formality, it's how taxpayers see the return on their investment. It builds trust, accountability, and confidence that county priorities reflect the needs of the community. Nowhere is that more important than in our emergency medical services. Across our county, residents are waiting longer for ambulances, and EMS personnel are stretched to their limits. These aren't minor inconveniences, they are life or death issues. When a family dials 911, every minute matters. That's why the public needs to hear more than general assurances. They need to see clear, consistent updates, the kind of information you already receive. How many EMTs and paramedics are being hired? How many ambulances are being added? How competitive pay is being addressed, and what the timeline is for strengthening EMS. When citizens hear this information directly, they know their concerns are being taken seriously, and they can see real progress being made. Transparency is not just good governance, it's the bridge that connects taxpayer investment to public safety outcomes. I know solutions are not simple, and I know this board is working hard on many priorities. But on EMS, the public deserves to see the same level of detail you see in the workshops. Sharing that information openly would show not only accountability, but leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jarman.
That is it for our speakers this evening, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Smithman. So we'll move right into item 5, our public hearings. So I believe Mr. Metcalf will be back up for the hearing on the Eastfield rezoning.
All right. Doing Eastfield first, yes?
Yes.
All right, well, 1 second.
It is. It's first.
Wait a minute, did Carter Metcalf just make a mistake?
It happens. It absolutely happens. My apologies.
Say it again?
My absolute apologies on that.
Just want to make sure I heard that.
I have no problem admitting when we make a mistake, and thank goodness it's just the order, right? Nothing of consequence here. So
You know we only say that because we like you, right?
I appreciate it, sir. So the first item before you tonight is the Eastfield rezoning Peri Z 2025 number 18. The applicant is Tidewater Associates and the owner is Lighthouse Realty Holdings, LLC. As we take a look at the overview of the request, the requested change is from 3 different zoning districts to 1 singular zoning district. So we have rural agriculture, RA, Residential 8 Manufactured, R-8M, and Highway Business are our 3 zoning districts on the property. And it's going to Residential 15. One tax map number in question, 1129-16, and it's located on Freedom Way in the White Oak Township. Total rezoning area is the total parcel, which is 30.28 acres, and the existing use is farmland. Here are the nearby services. There is a 2-inch unwassaid water main along Magnolia Drive, which is an adjacent development. There are 2 unwassaid water mains, though, on Freedom Way. Nearby properties are served by individual septic systems, and the fire service is for Hubert Fire District with an ISO rating of 6. So take a look at the traffic on Freedom Way. Our most recent traffic count comes from 2022 at 27,500 trips. Staff estimates the capacity at 49,000. Schools serving the site is Queens Creek Elementary, Swansboro Middle School, and Swansboro High School. According to our numbers, the elementary and middle school are over capacity, while the high school would have some remaining capacity at this time. So we take a look at our zoning map. You can see here the 3 different zoning districts on the property. There, the southernmost portion where it connects to Freedom Way, you can see the light blue, which is Highway Business. The southeast corner there in the red is R-8M, and the remnant of the tract there in that light green is RA. So you can see the 3 different zoning districts. It was because these were separate parcels that were recombined. So this was not any sort of rezoning action that created the split zoning, but rather the movement of property lines. Because when we move a property line, it does not change a zoning line. Only this board can do that. So you compare the 3 zoning districts of the property. One of them is rural agriculture, and its purpose is to maintain the rural development pattern that preserves our agricultural character. Next is the R-8M zoning district, and its purpose is to accommodate moderate to high density single family as well as multifamily, specifically with an emphasis on manufactured housing, which is what the adjacent property is a manufactured home area. Here, and then the last district is highway business, and its purpose is to accommodate those regional scale commercial uses and foster economic development. And again, that's only along the entrance road where you see that highway business designation. The proposed zoning district, though, is residential 15 or R15, and its purpose is to accommodate moderate density single-family residential development in our suburban areas of the county. The key here is where it has the necessary utility and transportation infrastructure to support that development. Suburban growth's intent is to provide for those moderate density residential developments. And again, our key here is where we have sufficient resources to support that growth. Here in the residential summary, you can see it prescribes a density of 4 to 5 dwelling units per acre and would even prescribe multi-family. Residential 15, we would see densities less than 4 to 5 dwelling units per acre, and it does not allow for multi-family. Here you can see our comprehensive plan, Horizon 2040. Right there, this property falls right on that boundary line between suburban growth and rural residential. Look at environmental conditions for the property. There is a blue line stream, Hatchell's Branch, there along the most northern property line. There's no designated flood zones in the property, and wetlands are on a subdivision plat that was recorded with our office, and that's in a slide presentation. We'll get there. It's in the flight path overlay, which means, again, any use there under that overlay, we would want it to not conflict with the flight paths coming out of New Rivers Air Station. Here, when we look at reasonableness in the public interest, what's reasonable is the future land use map is supporting this rezoning change. The majority of the property is rural agriculture, and this would move it to residential 10, thereby a higher development density and closer towards that suburban growth density mark. We want to proactively manage and guide new growth. Here, there are many aspects of the infrastructure that have capacity, not all of them, but several. And we want to promote a broad range of housing. R15 would allow for single-family development. Now, the non-supporting, 2 out of the 3 schools are projected currently over capacity. That would be our infrastructure aspect that could not support the rezoning. And 2 of the zoning districts where the property already is would allow for manufactured housing, while R-15 does not. So that is why the promoting a broad range of housing types supports and detracts from tonight's rezoning. Overall, Horizon 2040 would lend towards recommending approval of the rezoning. Planning Board convened at August 7th and voted 4-1 to recommend approval of the request. The dissenting Planning Board member voted against it because of school capacity and roadway infrastructure. One citizen spoke against the application, and their concerns were regarding flooding. Apparently, this area drains towards Magnolia Drive and the homes in that area. They're concerned about the tree removal. There's some substantial trees that we'll see in a second that provide a visual buffer. Their concerns were about those trees being removed and also traffic in general, specifically traffic going through Magnolia Drive. No military impacts, though, were presented during the Planning Board meeting, so no concerns with our flight path overlay. Here you can see the property overall. You can see the farm fields and the wooded area. We take a little bit of a closer look, and you can see the adjacent development there, specifically with Magnolia Drive, which is of point. Here is where we posted for the property, and that's kind of the entrance field, and you can see the manufactured homes there that are off Magnolia Drive there to the right. Of note, this is the concept plan that's recorded recorded with our office, but has been approved. They're still going through the review process, but they've crossed that first step. As notes, it connects to Duke Drive, which is one of the adjacent streets in that development, while their emergency access road is what connects to 24. So the primary is coming through the existing development, and then the secondary access is there on 24. But I would defer to the applicant on any updates on their development. And we'll conclude with the remarks from the chairman of the planning board. It's as follows. Total of 30.28 acres on Freedom Way. It's currently zoned RA and R8M and HB. One citizen spoke in opposition, citing flooding and if trees were taken out and their traffic concerns. The petitioner stated that we'll address the concerns about the wooded area as a buffer. Because of the soils, only 44 lots will be the maximum possible. The board members' no vote, the dissenting vote, was because of the concerns for schools and their overcrowded situation. Fortunately, the county and the school board have not addressed this adequately. We have found that the rezoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the land use maps. Again, that was the remarks of the chairman of the planning board. So it's respectfully requested the Board of Commissioners consider the proposed zoning map amendment of Period Z 2025 number 18 and consider the consistency resolution and if approved, authorize the chairman to sign the necessary documents, or if denied, sign the necessary denial documents.
Thank you, Mr. Metcalf. At this time, we will open the public hearing. Mr. Smitherman, do we have anyone for public comment?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The first speaker is Josh Edmondson.
Mr. Chairman. Josh Edmondson, Tidewater Associates. Thank you for hearing this case tonight. Obviously, we feel like we have a application that is consistent, not only with the characteristics of the area, the density dimensional requirements of the area, but also the future land use. Our main reason for the request, as Carter mentioned, you saw the approved concept we have under his current zoning designation. In going through the process, the soils along the eastern property line, are unsuitable. So this will allow us to utilize and really have a better, more efficient design, being able to shift the majority of our lots over to the western property line and trying to concentrate smaller lots, 15,000 square feet where we can along that property line. And leave some larger parcels or lots over along the mobile home, adjacent to the mobile home zone lots and subdivision. Our density is not increasing. It's not a request for density. It's purely to utilize our good soils. And also a couple of updates. Since the change to the access requirements for fire that were recently adopted by the commissioners, We will not be accessing through the mobile home park any longer. Our main access and only access will be off 24. So we won't be creating additional traffic in the mobile home park. So we hope that'll aid some of the concerns with mobile home park, obviously, when it comes to traffic. Very valid concerns that the presenter had at the planning board. And so we've tried to address those as we're working through design if this were to pass, with keeping our buffer. And obviously, I believe there's a type A buffer requirement adjacent to the mobile home park, which would be reviewed later and be required. Flooding, again, being able to concentrate more intensive development to the west on the western of the property will allow us to utilize taking stormwater to the rear of the property rather than to the east. There is a large depression on the property that's not wetlands. It has been delineated and found not to be jurisdictional wetlands. And honestly, keeping larger lots over there, it eliminates the need for land disturbance that might be unnecessary if can be. So that's kind of what the request is. Happy to answer any questions you may have, and just appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smithman?
Yes, sir. Our second speaker is Candace Champney.
Good evening. They were speaking about me. I was here at the last meeting. I did have concerns about them putting the access road in through our neighborhood, and I'm glad that they have decided to change that. That makes me happy. Unfortunately, we really don't want these houses built. I understand that there's our need for houses, that we are short. I walked outside last night and I heard the crickets chirping, and it was quiet. You could see the stars up in the sky. I don't know where everybody lives, but have you looked up in the sky lately? And did you see any stars? Probably not. Maybe not a lot, maybe some. But on a clear night where there's no lights or very few, you can see a million stars. That's what we would like to keep seeing, and not to hear a bunch of traffic. Yeah, we get the flyovers, which we love to hear. We don't hear a lot of traffic out on 24 at night. You do hear a couple people racing up and down the street, but that's what you get for living in a neighborhood right off a highway. But I have got a letter from a friend of mine, which again, I seem to be the only person in that neighborhood that decides to come to these meetings. So I'm going to hopefully, without stuttering, and apologize if I do. Okay. This is from a gentleman named Daniel, and you've probably heard of him. I can't remember his last name, but it's like, I stand before you tonight, not as someone opposed to growth, but as someone who insists it be smart, deliberate, and sustainable. Let's be clear. This rezoning request on its face does have one redeeming quality. It steers us away from highway-side commercial creep and high-density apartments, and instead leans towards single-family homes. That real property, real equity, and real generational wealth for actual families, not another wave of outside investors. But here's where we can't lose the plot. The citizens of Hubert ask for a pause on all rezoning. Not most, not until we find one that looks less bad. All means all. The point of the pause is simple. Stop chipping away at our future, one special case at a time. Until we finally get local control on a binding plan that respects our roads, our drainage, and our schools, which is as someone stated, our schools are overpopulated, they're overcrowded, and if we put all these houses in, there's gonna be more overcrowding, not a lot of teachers, there's gonna be like 30, 40 kids to a classroom. That's crazy. We're short like 80 school bus drivers. Our school bus drivers now are doing double time because there's not a lot. let's see. If we start carving out expectations every time a proposal comes along that looks better than the last one, then the pause means nothing. It just becomes another broken promise. Bottom line, I urge you to uphold two things tonight. Support the principle that single-family homes are better than commercial sprawl or dense apartments, but hold the line that no rezoning in Hubert move forward until this community has the power and the plan to place its shape on our future. And if, despite the will of the people, this board insists on pushing it forward, then the minimum must be conditional zoning with teeth, no cut-throughs into existing neighborhoods, which we have already addressed. Primary access that build to handle the traffic, real buffers, serious stormwater controls, and limits that are enforceable, not promises that get reinterpreted 5 years down the road. This tract is in Hubert. The community has spoken. Honor that position. Pause the rezoning, even the ones with the silver lining, until the rules are set and we can build a town that we can actually want. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smithman?
That is the last speaker for this public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we're close the public hearing.
Motion to approve.
Motion and a second. Discussion. So currently it's RA, R8, and HB. So that's a lot more density with those three, or about the same by the time you finish it all out. Sorry, Mr.
Majority of the property being rural agriculture, so changing to R15 technically would be an increase in density. Just HB and R8M are denser, but it's such small aspects of the tract.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, I would just say that, again, to Mr. Metcalf, no, you're fine, but just thank you for what your presentation on stormwater control today, lid, and those type of things. And I think the concern that we got and that we get in the future about water runoff, as the county gets it right, and then you form that into our policies for other developments in the future, I think that will help in these situations much needed, and thank you for good work.
Mr. Bennett?
Well, I think they've obviously addressed the access issue and agreed to buffers, so it looks like we planned 10 years ahead for the schools, and we all do all we can do for the traffic. So looks like a good plan to me.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, hearing none, motion carries. Mr. Metcalf, Morton Investments conditional rezoning.
All right, now the second item, which we tried to make it first. My apologies for that. So, your second item for this evening for the rezonings is the Morton Investments conditional rezoning, CREZ 2025 number 2. The applicant is also Tidewater and Associates, and the owners are Morton Investments LLC. So we take an overview of this request. It's from Residential 5 or R5 to Conditional Zoning Community Business, or CBCZ 349-130. It's a long title. 349-130 is our tax map number. It's located at 1132 Kellum Loop Road in the Jacksonville Township. The rezoning is for the entire property, or the 1.57 acres, and the existing use of the property is that it is vacant. Here's we take an overview of the service request. Is a 6-inch Nawassa water main. Nearby properties are served by individual septic systems, and the fire service is for Pumpkin Center with an ISO rating of 4. Traffic count that we have most recent and nearby is off Kellum Loop Road in 2023, 3,100 trips. Staff estimates the capacity just under 14,000. Schools serving the property are Jacksonville Commons Elementary, Jacksonville Commons Middle School, and White Oak High School. The elementary and high school have capacity, while the middle school is currently projected over capacity. Here you can take a look at the zoning district for the property. It's R5. It's proposed for that conditional zoning community business, which is tied again to that tax map number in question. Comparing the two zoning districts, R5, its purpose is to accommodate moderate to high density development, whether single family or multifamily, in our urbanizing areas of the county that have necessary infrastructure to support development at that intensity. Compared to conditional zoning for community business. And the purpose of community business generally is to accommodate the establishment of small scale retail and service uses that would serve that nearby community. This community business zoning district would have the same prescribed uses as community business with some restrictions that are going to be in the place of conditions on this, and we're going to cover that later in the presentation, but generally would have the same underlying uses. The comprehensive plan details this property in the rural residential category, and it's to provide for typically low-density single-family residential development, but also does provide for some small-scale convenience in retail service businesses, specifically when it's located at crossroads or on major arterial roadways. Here, since this is proposal for a non-residential category, we would want to see limited retail and service uses at crossroads. Here you can take a look at the comprehensive plan. See, again, we're right at that boundary of the suburban growth, rural residential kind of line change. And it is proposed at a crossroads, and community business does allow for small scale retail and service uses. So this proposed rezoning, again, would be in alignment with Horizon 2040, and we'll cover more of that in a little bit. For environmental conditions, it aligns, has no blue line streams on the property, no regulated flood zones, and any sort of wetlands would have to be delineated on site approval documents. Look at reasonableness in the public interest. We want to manage growth by guiding it to areas that have infrastructure capacity. There are several infrastructure elements that would have capacity. We want to coordinate with our school system. We do have one school that's proposed to be over capacity, and with this proposed rezoning would be removing the ability for residential, right? So that's potential for less kids in our school system. We want to promote a broad range of commercial activities in appropriate locations. With this being a crossroads, this would align with the comprehensive plan. Objective 1.3, we want to preserve our rural landscape. Again, this is currently a farm field, so this would be development of a field. As well with 6.1, we want to promote a broad range of housing types. R5 would allow for multifamily, and so this would be removing that potential for development. Planning Board met on August 7th and voted unanimously to recommend approval of the request. No citizens spoke against the request. No military impacts were presented. And the Planning Board suggested the recommendation to not allow tobacco shops as a use within this zoning district as a condition. The applicant agreed, and that is memorialized in tonight's conditions before the board. The remarks from the chairman of the Planning Board are as follows. Total of 1.57 acres on Kellum Loop Road near Highway 17 North. It's currently zoned R5 and to be rezoned to CB. A motion was made to add the exclusion of vape shops and specifically tobacco shops as well to the conditions, and it was agreed to by the petitioner. The property is at an intersection and is consistent with the comprehensive plan and land use map. Here you can see an overview of the property. They're the 1.57 acres adjacent to multifamily. There as well as some other retail businesses and at the intersection there of Ramsey and Kellum Loop Road. And this is what the property looks like front where we posted for this evening's rezoning, but then a little bit of a wider look for the board. Now, because this is a conditional rezoning, the applicant has to submit a conditional site plan. This is, again, a preliminary look at the proposed development. This is included in your packets in the staff report, but also a larger one because the scaling got kind of small. So there it is on the screen, the conditional zoning site plan for this evening's rezoning. It's a retail use there with proposal for 4 tenants. Shows the proposed parking spaces. The septic is in the rear of the property. with the required buffering and streetscaping that would go around the sides of the property, and then again, that streetscaping up front with one access driveway. So the proposed conditions, these are a series of them. Some are proposed by the applicant, some by staff, some by planning board. And so there are a process that we work through the rezoning process. So we'll cover them briefly. If the proposed use is at any point to change to multifamily, or if the proposed building is to be larger than indicated on the site plan, it would be considered a major amendment, and they would have to go back through the conditional rezoning process. So the building would be limited in size to what's on the site plan. The tobacco shops as a use, we would include vape shops under that use, is not to be permitted. A major site plan that would meet all of our additional engineering and technical requirements about stormwater permit and erosion control permit would be submitted to the planning office should they be approved. And access to the site will be limited to one driveway, and a driveway permit would be obtained by NCDOT. The planning development director would be allowed to do the minor amendments. Again, where they fall within those criteria, they're listed there on the screen. Essentially, where it reduces the proposed development would be eligible for a minor amendment, but in no way could they eliminate any of the conditions or buffering. It's respectfully requested the Onslow County Board of Commissioners consider the proposed conditional zoning map amendment of Series Z 2025 number 2. Consider the condition resolution for the amendment, adopt a statement of consistency for the amendment, and authorize the chairman to sign the necessary documents on behalf of the county. This concludes the staff presentation, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Metcalf. Thank you, Mr. Metcalf. At this time, we will open the public hearing for public comment. Mr. Smitherman, do we have anyone signed up?
Yes, we do. Mr. Josh Edmondson.
That was going to be my first guess.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Josh Evanson, Tidewater Associates. First off, I want to thank Carter and staff for working with us on this proposal, getting conditions in place. We were trying really hard to submit something that would allow us to do some limited retail and commercial that would really cater to the residents of this area and maybe some drive-by potential clients. But, that's about it based on this area. And just thought that the conditional rezone process kind of would be better for us. Obviously, if we were coming for just straight community business, there might be different feelings about that, which we understand. So this allowed us to present you guys something that we feel good about. We tried to remove some of the more intensive commercial uses and really mimic the existing development standards that are already in community business. And the vape shop, that we had a citizen at our community meeting that wanted to see that in there, and we completely understood and obliged to that. And we're happy that the planning board made that a condition for us. So more than anything tonight, I'm here to answer any questions you have, or if you guys like to see any changes or any other conditions that you'd like to talk about, we're here to discuss and answer any questions that you have for us. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was our last speaker, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. We'll close the public hearing.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, hearing none, the motion carries. So we'll move to item 6 for the resolution amending the bylaws of Onslow Water and Sewer Authority.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I'll pass that on to Mr. Bennett, but I heard a motion on the table, so I'll back out.
I heard a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion?
But yes, we need to, there is a resolution is to amend the Articles of Incorporation. The Onwassa Board has the authority on its own to amend the bylaws. We want the approval of the commissioners to change the Articles of Incorporation. And I would like to make sure that the public understands what we're doing. The Onwassa Board of Directors has asked for this change because the Board of Directors is made up of 8 elected officials. And the fact is that this year, 6 of the 8 elected officials are either on the ballot or not on the ballot for reelection. So we have a potential to turn over 75% of our board of directors in November of this year. Onwassa started out as a $20 million a year corporation and now is $63 million a year corporation with over $200 million in capital projects on the books. So we don't believe that it's a good business practice to have 75% of our board of directors turning over, or the potential for 75% to turn over. So what this change in the articles would do would allow the Onwassa, would allow the municipalities and the Onslow County Commissioners to appoint anyone that they want to the Onwassa Board of Directors, regardless of whether they're an elected official, and would place each director on a 3-year rotating term so that we can hopefully have some consistency in the Board of Directors and we won't have the kind of potential turnover that we have this year. All of the municipalities in the county have approved this except for Richlands, and I'll be presenting to Richlands tomorrow night. So I appreciate your consideration.
So do we need to change that motion to the articles?
Yeah, was that the motion for the
Yeah, that'd be
articles?
fine.
And was that the second?
So we got the motion on the articles, we got the second. Royce has given, or Commissioner Bennett has given us plenty of discussion. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, hearing none, motion carries. So that'll bring us to the manager's comments. Mr. Smitherman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to just focus my comments today on recreation and things going in our parks and recreation, things that are going on in parks and recreation. First, we had a big fall festival this past weekend that I heard was very well attended. Our citizens proved to value these special events that we do through Parks and Rec, and we want to make sure we continue to provide solid programming that's well received by a lot of people. We also had a grand opening of our new playground at Hines Farm Park Friday morning. I had a whole bunch of children, homeschool children, come out and enjoy our playground as part of that event. And we have just begun our relationship with an engineer architecture firm to begin the planning for the indoor recreation facility. And the significant effort on that for the next 90 to 120 days is to hear what the community wants out of a facility like that. So we will be seen in the community a lot the next few months, attending events and festivals and ball games, and finding ways for our citizens to contribute their thoughts to this project. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Smitherman. We will start commissioner comments tonight with Commissioner Carpenter.
Ladies first. As I am looking at the notes I took for this meeting, one of them, which was on the Orphan Road meeting, I was thinking how funny it was when I first got into office that everyone said, remember, we don't discuss or have any impact on roads, okay? That's the NCDOT, and here we are. So I did watch that meeting since I was unable to attend it, and was very impressed and pleased to know that there was almost 6,000 views of that video on Facebook. I don't know if you saw that or not. And my hat's off to Carter and Joseph Bauer and also Kevin Turner. I mean, all of you were so professional and so very thoughtful in the way that you presented and the way that you answered the questions. I thought the meeting was a huge success. No, there's no perfect answer to this whole situation with orphan roads, but I feel like it is so wonderful to know that we're making some kind of an olive branch to all the communities that have suffered for so long. So thank you all. Thank you to the staff that suggested that solution as well. Did also attend the airport advisory meeting last week, and everything is moving right along with that runway expansion or extension, I should say, and all the other stuff that goes along with it. I'm going to get a brief from Brett on some things I missed recently, which I'll be glad to know about. And the last thing, I had one more thing I was going to say, and I cannot remember what it was. Okay. One thing just that hit me too was it takes a lot of courage to stand up here at the mic and have 5 minutes to like stare at all of us and us stare back or not at you. And so I just really want to applaud you for taking the time and having the courage to stand up there and express what you feel is important, and especially Mr. Jarman, the transparency of EMS, I completely echo that. And I know Kevin Riopelle has done a great job, as has Lisa, on in our different media sites to get word out on things that we do feel are very important. And I hope that maybe the EMS, if it hasn't already been addressed, just updates would be, I think, a cool thing for us to do. So that's my plug for that. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Carpenter. Commissioner Bennett?
Oh, thank
You're
you,
up.
sir. Okay. I do appreciate our speakers, and I also send my thanks to Carter Metcalf and his crew for the Orphan Roads meeting. That was great. But you know, just last month I sat here and I talked about the need for us to have civil conversations with people with whom we don't agree. And then last week, someone killed Charlie Kirk because they disagreed with what he said. Charlie was the founder of Turning Point USA. You should listen to some of his conversations. He dropped out of college, but he was one of the smartest people I ever heard talk. He made multi-million-dollar business going to college campuses and talking about current issues. He went to hostile college campuses just to talk to people. People came out voluntarily. No one was forced to listen to him, but someone chose to murder him instead of listening. When I was a child, we had this childish saying, some of you may remember it, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I remember saying that when people called me names or said mean things to me when I was a kid. When I grew up as a police officer, I was cursed and denigrated and called everything imaginable. And as a commissioner, sometimes I called names and get disrespected. But people have a right to say what they will. You know, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Charlie said that when conversation ends, violence begins. And that's exactly what happened last week. A worthless coward who didn't have the guts to stand in front of him and debate him, instead sat behind the scope of a rifle 200 yards away and shot him dead, leaving a widow and 2 fatherless children to suffer his loss. Charlie was a courageous Christian warrior who never injured anyone, only tried to convince with words. I do believe the fate of our country is at stake here. A constitutional republic cannot survive without the freedom to discuss, debate, and consider important issues of our time. I would ask you out there, please, open your hearts and minds and consider the thoughts and opinions of those with whom you disagree, and teach your children that sticks and stones may break their bones, but words will never hurt them. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Mr. Buchanan?
Took the words right out of my mouth, Royce. I wanted to say some of the same stuff that he just got done saying. I concur with you. It means a whole lot when, you know, you should be able to say what you need to say, properly to say it. And that's what this gentleman did. I listened, I don't know how many speeches in the last 3 or 4 days, and it's amazing how he tried, and he won people over, won loads and loads of people over. But I concur with what you had to say. Tony, I want to thank you for what you did for Randy.
Thank you.
Randy Jones and his wife that worked here for many, many years, and you and I have been worked around both of them, and we couldn't have 2 of the best employees that I've ever seen work here for Onslow County. So thank you for doing that longleaf pine for them. And everybody, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Buchanan. Mr. Paget?
I'll make mine short. Thank you very much for being here tonight. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you, sir. Vice Chairman?
Just to echo what Commissioner Buchanan said and Commissioner Bennett, you know, more importantly to me, you know, this country needs prayer. And I know some people object to us saying that because we're in positions, but, you know, you look at the sign right behind my head, it says, "In God we trust," and we're not taking it down. And the Supreme Court has not ruled that we need to take it down. So to be honest with you, I get sick and tired of being called the fastest a Nazi because we're doing this. Okay, so it's going to stay up here. We do everything by the book. We offer people a chance for a moment of silence. And when we pray to God, you can pray to your God, and I can pray to my God. And, you know, we're not violating anybody's rights, but you coming up here telling me that I am, you're violating my rights as well. So I just don't listen to it. But getting back to what both of them said, you know, it's a sad, tragic time in the United States when anybody, doesn't matter who it is, voices their opinion. They have a right to voice their opinion. And the man died protecting that First Amendment right. But more importantly to me, as far as I'm concerned, what he did is not any open up the truth and stuff. He led a lot of people to the Lord. And I really appreciate that, what he did. And it's just a sad time. And, you know, you can disagree with everybody's opinions, but when you take violence into your own hands because you can't resolve it by a normal debate or just disagreeing to disagree, then as far as I'm concerned, you know, there's no respect for individuals like that whatsoever. And I pray for them too as well. But enough of that. The last thing I wanted to say, and he's not here, he had to leave early. But I just wanted to be known that I was going to bust his chops because it is true, John Davis does own a suit jacket. So you just saw it here tonight, folks. He was asking us if we had to take pictures. Do I need my suit jacket? I told him no, but somebody else told him yes, and he got one. And I didn't think he was going to get one. But suffice it to say, he owns more than shorts and flip-flops and Hawaiian shirts. He does have a suit jacket, and he does have a tie. So, John, if you're out there, I know you're home someplace. Watch it on G10. You can bust my chops later. But I'm really proud of the fact that he wore one today. So thank you, John, and thank you guys for coming tonight, and we'll see you at the next meeting.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Sir, thank you for coming tonight. I missed your name. I apologize for that. But I know Mr. Metcalf has written that down, and we'll take a look at the road and responsibilities and stuff there for coming in. John Barnett, Mr. Barnett, thank you.
I remembered.
We appreciate that. That's the first thing he's remembered today. But we appreciate you coming in. And Mr. Jarman, same thing. Mr. Williams, we appreciate you coming in and speaking. Commissioner Carpenter says it's not easy coming there to speak to people that you don't necessarily know. But I will address what I did tonight. I don't want anybody walking out of here thinking that I don't believe in that podium and your right to stand there and speak. I 100% do. Matter of fact, I've listened to that speech for 5 minutes for several times this year, and I'm okay with listening to it for another several times over the next couple of months of the opinion on our prayer. I will correct that. The Constitution has ruled that we can do that. It's the nation's motto: take a dollar out, take a $5 bill out, look at it. It says, "In God we trust."
That's right.
So that's already been done. The Establishment Clause obviously is there. We get lectured on that. However, we have addressed that already, and the coercion is the piece that does not exist in our prayer. No one is made to bow their head, pray. No one's made to stand up and join in prayer. So that's a big piece of the rulings that have taken place over the years in reference to that. So you would think with me saying I support that speech and that podium that I wouldn't have used the gavel tonight. However, there's a difference in speech and calling people using phrases that has created all sorts of animosity across this nation, and I'll say it federally on both sides of the aisle. And at some point, somebody's got to stand up and grab the microphone and say enough's enough. You know, we just had observances all over this nation, all over this county last week on September 11th. And I know where I was on September 11th, 2001. I think Ms. Hoffman may have been sitting in my class at the time, and someone walked by, and I taught history. I walked by and I turned the television on, and maybe I shouldn't have done what I did, but I did it, and we watched it. And in this part of the state, we have family members that are serving. We have folks that put that uniform on every day and go and fight for the freedoms of this nation. And one of those freedoms is our freedom of speech. All those men and women that put on that uniform, they all agree that they may not agree with what you have to say, but they put their life on the line to fight for your right to say it. Now, there are limits to that. We've witnessed this from people across the nation and political seats and everywhere else, where when they're continued to use phrases and names that instigate hate and instigate violence, then there's a time that needs to stop. And tonight, I was more than willing to sit here and listen for 5 minutes of our prayer is unconstitutional. I was willing to listen to 5 minutes that we need to be transparent with our EMS. I'm listening to 5 minutes of a road that needs to be addressed and help the community. We've listened to Mr. Bogey talk about the orphan roads. We've listened to people share their thoughts continuously. But what you're not going to do is walk to the microphone and reference the men and women sitting up here as fascists and Nazis, white supremacists, and any other word that you want to share, because there's one thing that you don't know is you don't know anybody up here sitting. And I 100% believe that we, as it was stated in what we heard, prayer needlessly. Well, it's pretty evident that it's needed. After September 11th of 2001, this nation came together as one. Men and women of all races, men and women, all parts of the nation. And that's what we need now. Neighbors, countrymen, women, looking at each other, shaking hands with each other, respecting each other, loving each other. May not agree with you, but we need to be able to have that conversation. Because who else is going to lead this nation of children but the adults? And my encouragement is get off social media. Start talking to each other. Start sharing your thoughts and help for each other. But get off social media, because people are lying to you. And there's minds out there that can't tell the difference, and they take action that they shouldn't take. And that's not just this week or this past week, but it's been for months. Numerous people have lost their lives at the hands of unnecessary violence. It's time for somebody to stand up. Somebody, somewhere, stand up and say enough's enough. Walk out there, speak your mind, hold your violence, watch your tongue, don't incite things, and it doesn't matter who you are. If you are saying things that are inciting anger, or you're saying things that are inciting violence, then you're wrong. I know there's things that every one of you out there disagree with me on, but let's start first with what we agree on, and let's work from there. Because our ultimate goal for this nation is to be one nation under God. This is a great experiment that has lasted almost 250 years, and it's still going. It's time to unite and be that beacon or that light on a hill. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned.